true.
Welcome back to Travel Trail Diaries with Becca and June. We are taking our first camping trip of the year for 2026. We are heading up to the Poconos to Promised Land State Park. Stay tuned for next week. We'll have some great footage for you guys to see, and we'll tell you all about our adventures in the mountains. are staying in Site 110, Promised Land State Park. As you can see, we're the last spot in this particular row, right by the water. We have our little RV, which we absolutely love. Had my bestie make us a custom camp flag, which keeps spinning. Get a little picnic table. Have our fireplace, which we're getting ready to light up. Have electric hookup here. A little bump out. And like I said, if you just spin around, we are basically on the water. Catching this beautiful sunset over the water, literally right behind where we're camping at for the next few days. Our first full day, we're at Promised Land State Park up in the Poconos. We're heading out to hit the trails. We're hoping to find the Little Falls Trail, which is loaded with a few waterfalls, hoping that we don't see any bears. But most of the campers and the rangers have guaranteed that we'll definitely see some bears while we're out here. So we have our bear spray just in case, and I even bought whistles for this trip, just in case we need something to scare them off. Stay tuned. So we're in Promised Land State Park. This is the snow shanty boat mooring area. We'll walk you down here, let you see where you can launch your boat out into this beautiful lake. Nice little parking area for you to leave your trucks all day. You can see the ramp coming up where you would back down into to launch your boat. Go out here and enjoy some fishing, boating, sun tanning, whatever your thing is. Now once you're in here, opens up to this huge lake, Promised Land Lake up in the Poconos. A little ramp here to help you board your boat once you are in the water. Everything looks pretty well maintained. And this is where you can start your day on the water. Getting ready. Heading down to Conservation Island Nature Trail, Promised Land State Park in the Poconos. Kind of just veers off and goes down by the water. Looks like we'll be coming up on a stone bridge. Looks like it may be a do not cross. Let's see if we get a little bit closer, if we're able to go out and cross this bridge and see what it's all about. I think this just may be a road closed to cars and to bikes, but foot traffic looks like it's allowed. Entering the bridge to Conservation Island. Beautiful stone structure here. Looks like it's a super old bridge, but they maintain it pretty well on both sides. And come up here. This is our view. Absolutely picture perfect. Let's swing it around. Absolutely stunning on this side as well. Now that we crossed the bridge, we're officially entering Conservation Island. Looks like they have a lot of rhododendrons that are starting to come back after this cold winter.
Say start this way.
The trail goes two different ways, but it's given us a start to our left, so most likely probably loops around. You can see all the rhododendron trees. Everything else is still struggling to get started this spring. Conservation Island is a small trail. It's split, but we chose to follow the blue blazes through the rhododendrons. A little more picturesque back here. Nice soft ground. This is supposed to be a shorter trail, but this way is a little more scenic than the other. You can see the other side, there's still a lot of trees that are waiting to grow in. So we're gonna follow the blue and hope we end up somewhere good. On Conservation Island and Promised Land State Park. Ooh, we're following the blue blazes, and we just found a secret little bench hidden down here. If you go through the rhododendron tunnels, you get down here to this waterfront bench. It's a perfect little spot to take in the views. I love when we find things like this.
This is decent.
And then this is what we can see from our little bench spot. Looks like this trail's just looping us back around, bringing us back towards the waterfront, and then on to the next. Heading around the second part of the Conservation Island loop. Terrain changes a little bit, but this is a fairly easy, short trail to be on. Hopefully you can hear this woodpecker in a few seconds. We can't see him with our eye, but we can hear him every 20 seconds or so. And of course he doesn't want to show off right now. But as soon as I stop recording, I guarantee he'll start his work again.
There he is.
Still on the conservation trail at Promised Land State Park. And we think we just came along on some beaver damage. You can see all the little striations from the teeth marks. We kind of zoom out so you can get the scope. Definitely took down some wood over here. This is just what happens out in nature. Like we mentioned earlier, the terrain changes a little bit. This is a little more grassy with some rocks mixed in. Lots of trees down in this area. Lots of trees leaning. A little sketchy, but nothing we're not used to. Out here with Beck and June on the trails. We came to a little fork in the road and we chose to go the way that looks a little rougher. When we look on our map, both trails end up at the exact same spot to finish the conservation loop trail. This way just looked a little more interesting. We have a little mountain coming out here. Trail's a little bit tougher, but still fairly easy. Here's another bench. Definitely not as nice as the first. It's clearly been here for a long time. Definitely needs replaced. But these are the things we find out in the wild. They actually cut down the tree that has part of the blue marker to show us where we're going. But at least they're well marked here. There's one right up the hill. Coming back up the hill on top of the mini mountain. Not really sure what this is yet. Not really sure what this is. So we're officially finished. We did the whole Conservation Island loop trail, walked the whole main road back. We're heading onto the Snow Shanty Trail, which will eventually lead us to the trail we want to get to, which is loaded with waterfalls. And they have a bridge where we can cross the creek that is bigger than the one we're crossing right now. But I guess that would technically count as our first little waterfall. We always say the babies count. So we're on the Snow Shanty Trail, Promised Land State Park in the Poconos. We're heading towards our next trail, which I believe is the Burley Inlet Trail, as we make our way to Little Falls. That's our goal for today. Most of these trails are fairly easy hiking and pretty short compared to some of the parks that we've been to. little bit rocky here, but overall not too bad. We're following the yellow blaze for this trail. You can see up ahead the yellow paint. Always thankful when the trails are marked. Makes our life a lot easier. So we're still on the Shanty Snow Trail, making our way to Burley. It's getting a little bit more foresty back here. A lot of the trees still have bare branches. They're waiting on their growth, which I'm sure will be right around the corner. We are here in mid-April. A little chilly, but overall nice weather. So you can see the trail, a lot of roots, a few rocks, lots of sticks. But overall, fairly easy hiking. Everything's been labeled very well. So we are just going to continue following the blue blaze until we get to our next connecting trail and making our way to the falls. We've got a little downhill action coming here. Still pretty much the same terrain. Leaves, mainly dirt, a few rocks. Nothing too crazy. Still following the blue blaze. And we should not be that far from the Burley Inlet Trail, which is our next connecting trail. If you look around, some of the moss, some of these new growth pine trees, stuff slowly coming back to life. Nice little patch of greenery right here. I feel like we're kind of in Fern Gully. So sometimes when we're out here, we run into obstacles like this. This is just Mother Nature doing what she does, completely blocking our trail. So we're going to cautiously go off to the side. Make sure we're not disturbing anything. And we are going to try to weave our way past this obstacle. A little crazy, but hey, doing what we do. It's either we try this or we turn back. And when you've already got this far, you might as well keep on pushing through. Alright. So literally climbing the obstacles. And just like that, we're on the other side of the mess. Back on track. We just made it through our last obstacle, and then we came up on this. Some type of, hopefully, animal bone. I'm not even sure if that's part of the thigh, if that's a shoulder.
Like a leg bone.
I'm honestly not sure, but things we find in nature. Heading up towards the last leg of this trail. Sometimes Mother Nature builds its own path. Gives you these little stone steps. And it makes you feel like they were meant for you to climb up. So naturally, that's what we're doing. Heading back into a nice healthy area of rhododendrons. These seem to be really popular in the last few state parks that we've been at. We're at Promised Land right now. We have been at Caledonia, Ricketts Glen, World's End. The rhododendrons are pretty predominant. Just coming up on this rock. Wondering if that's a claw mark to a bear. So we made it to the end of the snow shanty. We're now on the Burley Inlet. We are going to take this until we hit the rhododendron trail as we continue our hike on the way to find these falls. We're going to hit multiple trails along the way. We missed a huge turkey coming up here. Our GoPro battery died, unfortunately. We saw a huge turkey. So we're keeping an eye out for whatever other wildlife we might see. Hopefully nothing scary. Tons of woodpeckers up here and a turkey so far. This trail's pretty wide. Has a lot of stones that kind of remind you of a railroad track. But overall, pretty good sized trail. So stay tuned until we get to the next leg. And I was reading up online. I saw that there is a deer exclosure. So this one is actually designed to keep deer out instead of letting deer in. As you notice, it's an exclosure, not an enclosure. And this allows for whatever they have in there to grow without the deers eating it and killing it before it even has a chance. So we're still on the Burley Inlet Trail. Took a little break to enjoy some of the scenery.
The wrong route.
Heading uphill. We made a wrong turn, which happens a good bit out here. Sometimes signs are turned on the trail, and sometimes you just make a mistake and misread it, but you make the best of it, because regardless, no matter which way you're walking, it's still beautiful out here. We still are surrounded by the deer exclosure. See blue skies. This path's got kind of a hay type grass and a lot of rocks. So we're just gonna go up and then probably go down and see where we end up for the next leg of the day. Just wanted to give you guys a little taste of our view. No matter what kind of camera you have, it just never seems to be the same as when you're looking at it with your naked eye. But we're literally up in the Pocono Mountains, Burley Inlet Trail, Promised Land State Park. So we are coming off the Burley Inlet Trail. We're at the park boundary line. So this separates us basically from Promised Land State Park, which is where we're staying, and dumps us into Delaware State Forest. And what we found is that a lot of the state parks are lined with state forests. You can usually determine on your map by a color change, or like the sign that I just showed you. It lets you know when you're crossing from one boundary into the next. Like I mentioned earlier, we crossed over into the Delaware State Forest, which is running parallel with Promised Land State Park. We are on a beautiful rhododendron-lined trail. Most of these trails have been fairly easy to walk, enjoyable with the scenery. I think most people, most ages, can hike this with no issues. Look how beautiful these rhododendrons are. They just keep going and going and going. Delaware State Forest. Behind me you can see all the rhododendrons. You can see them all around us. We're surrounded and they're just absolutely gorgeous. It feels like spring and almost like you're in another planet. It's nice to escape where we're actually from and come out on these hikes and get to see all these beautiful things. So we are still on the Delaware State Forest side, running parallel with Promised Land State Park. We have been enjoying these absolutely gorgeous rhododendron-lined trails for a good bit of time. It's so peaceful. We're just taking our time, beautiful weather today. It's mid-April. We're gonna hit about 50 degrees and it feels absolutely perfect. I mean, just look around, look at this. Not sure what the caution sign is for. Hopefully we don't have to find out. You can hear several different birds along this trail. We've seen and heard more woodpeckers than we can count. Lots of little birds, a few warblers. We're looking forward to making our way over to the wildlife viewing area.
This is electric wire. Jesus, why would they have this low? That's not good.
We have some power wires running through here. Not sure why this is as low as it is, but this may explain the prior caution sign.
What?
Proceed with caution, low power line.
Let's just run into this, please.
It's definitely makes you a little uncomfortable when you're out in nature. But as we said earlier, sometimes you have to go through obstacles to get where you want to be. And that was another one that we just conquered. There goes a ranger down on the road. We're heading back to the main road that we started on this morning. Hope you guys enjoyed this rhododendron line trail. The end of the rhododendron line trail. This is just an example when I mentioned that there's a lot of woodpeckers here and we hear them all day as well as seeing them occasionally. This is just some of the work that they're putting in on these trees. Unreal. Have to wonder how a little bird can be that strong. You can stay in Promised Land Park if you're in a tent and basically be waterfront. This is Promised Land Lake. I'm going to show you a couple of the little spots they have set up for tents. Right up the hill is where all the RVs and campers are staying. This is another little tent site. You can see one behind it as well. And again, you're right on Promised Land Lake in the Pocono Mountains. We are up in the Pocono Mountains, Promised Land State Park. We are heading up on a little beachy area. This is Promised Land Lake. And we just discovered a little beach. There's some beautiful rocks down here, a nice sandy area. Walking down to the beach at Promised Land State Park in the Poconos. The water looks pretty clear as we're getting closer. The water is absolutely gorgeous. A little chilly today, but still a perfect day to be down by the water. The lake just seems endless. It goes on and on and on. Walking along the beach, we found a little carcass. I'm gonna say that it's most likely a fish. You can see the little sharp teeth in there. June's heading out into the lake. Promised Land State Park. We are in Promised Land Lake. They have a little area that we were able to walk out on the rocks. So as you can see, we're literally standing in the water. Pretty cool. I'm going to kind of show you how vast this lake truly is. The water is so clear, as dark as it may look. You can see in the closer parts of the video how clear everything is. And here's a nice little sandy beach behind us. It's absolutely gorgeous.
So many of these little wasted things like right here. No, it's a real cool one right here. I'm getting it. Oh, it's so hard.
You got it, baby.
No.
Really gorgeous. Walking up to a bench in one of the parks, and this is what we see. June told me not to touch it, haha. Winding down our Sunday evening, Promised Land State Park in the Poconos. Stand back at our campsite, Promised Land State Park. Have a little fire that we're starting as the sun's setting over the water behind us. It's been a perfect day and a perfect end to our perfect day. Early morning, Promised Land State Park in the Poconos. It's pretty quiet except for the birds. Hoping I can catch a woodpecker for you real quick, as there's a ton of them up here. The water is nice and still. You hear them? They're everywhere. Day 3, Promised Land State Park. Today's the day we're officially hiking to Little Falls Trail. We decided, since it's a little cloudy and supposed to be windy later, that our best bet is to take the main road to get there. And we'll come back through the hiking trails as long as the weather holds. So we are still in Promised Land State Park in the Poconos. Taking a little stroll before we go back and start our campfire and have our dinner. Just wanted to share a couple things. Like I said, we're here in mid-April, so not everything is open and available yet. But once Memorial Day hits, this is a little amphitheater. You can come out here and they play movies throughout the summer. Different little events that they have. And then when you swing around, this is called the Masker Museum. And this basically has a lot of history about the park. We actually met a fellow camper when we were checking in, and he highly recommended coming to the Masker Museum. So we were kind of bummed that unfortunately it's just not open for the season yet. But it's giving little cozy cabin vibes. Got this cool statue out front. Take a little peek at him. Very cool. Give you a little bit of information. This is the front door. We actually tried it yesterday. It's called the Masker Museum. Like I said, we're definitely bummed that it's not open. Maybe we'll luck out before we head out of here and get an opportunity to go in. Here's just a map of the park. We actually saw a wild turkey earlier. Unfortunately, our GoPro had died, but we did see a wild turkey when we were out on one of our hikes. You can see here's the Park Museum sign. Nice little bench. Just a cool little spot to hang out. Another little bench there in the back. But maybe we'll be back one day when it's open. Taking a little stroll now. This is Promised Land State Park. We are on something called Museum Road. This runs right next to the Masker Museum, which I pointed out earlier has been closed. A lot of stuff is still waiting to grow back in. A couple pine trees. Just checking it out to see what we can find. Looks like this is a road that maybe the rangers may use, so we're not sure what the, end result of this trail is. Looks like also a possible building up here to the right. You can still hear the woodpeckers going. This may just be another camp area that we stumbled upon. Might just be a dead end, but always worth checking it out. Yep. Nice little cabin. Very cool. Coming up on another building. This is called the Park Auditorium. Like I said earlier, most stuff is closed because we're a little bit before the season, being here in mid-April. So we're not 100% sure what goes on in here. But it looks like when it is open from Memorial Day to Labor Day, that they do offer a lot of different activities. It's curtained, so we can't even really peek in there. And then this is just another campsite. It's not quite open yet because, like I said, we are a little early in the year. On our way to the Little Falls Trail, we are at the corner of Pickerel Point Road and Route 390. This is also home to the park office. As you can see, there's the official park sign across the street. We're gonna go take our selfies, surrounded by more rhododendrons. Here's the park office over here and where some of their maintenance buildings are. This just kind of gives you the overall lay of the land, which we've pretty much seen all of that. We're staying in Pickerel Point, so stay tuned. We are headed down the road trying to find the Little Falls Trail. Since the weather looks a little iffy, we chose to take the main road to be a little safer today. It's kind of a different section that we haven't seen. A couple new trails that we're gonna hit today. Over here, this is the park office where we checked in at. Most park offices typically have some type of museum inside. In this park, they have a separate museum called the Masker Museum, which sadly just isn't open yet. Just walked past the state park office. Headed on a road that has a lot of slow blind curves, as the sign warned us. Another road lined by the rhododendrons. Still on our way to Little Falls Trail, just taking our time, enjoying the scenery. Alright, so we're coming off of Route 390. We're about to hop on the Red Oak Trail. And this is going to give us a big loop with a couple additional trails on our way to Little Falls. Little Falls is kind of the furthest away. I know that we've said it a lot, but there's so many trails that intersect with it. It's kind of the furthest one from our campsite, which is how we're getting to see all these additional trails. If you look across the street, they also have like a parking area that you can drive down to and park to get onto this trail. And the connectors. So we are at the trailhead for the Red Oak Trail. We're getting ready to cross in and take this all the way over to find the falls. It's the Red Oak. They share the latitude and longitude with us. No cars, ATVs. This is foot traffic only. Let's see what this little sign says. Oh, okay, so they did have it open for the winter time for hunting. Looks like it's fairly grassy so far. Alright, so we're heading down the Red Oak Trail, Promised Land State Park. Starting off kind of grassy, a little leafy. Still recovering from a harsh winter. Still waiting on most things to grow in, but you can see the greenery along the path that we're on. Most of the trails in this park are pretty easy to hike. There's a couple that are a little more difficult, but overall they are rated easy hikes. So just about anybody can come in here and do this. Some might do it faster, some might take our time. We tend to take our time because we like to see every little thing along the way. We're always looking for wildlife, cool rocks, any type of statue or any weird things that we see, old stone structures. We want to see it all. So stay tuned. We'll update you shortly once we get a little further in on the Red Oak Trail. A little further into the Red Oak Trail, Promised Land State Park in the Poconos. The weather's kind of changing in our favor today. It's getting warmer, sunny. The trail's pretty much staying the same terrain. A little grassy, leafy. Some new growth pine trees coming in. That's about it so far. A lot of big rocks up there. They said this park was one big glacier many, many years ago. When it broke apart, this is how they formed the park. That's probably where a lot of these rocks came from once the ice came down and melted and the mountains started breaking apart. This is what you're left with. We're coming along on the Red Oak Trail, and it opens up a little bit to your right. Grass is still a little long, hay type-ish grass, and we're coming up on this little bridge. These are the things that I mentioned in the prior video. We love finding little quirky things like this in the woods. Looks like at some point these are the pieces of an old bridge possibly, and they're just kind of broken down. Zoom in a little bit. That looks like the remnants of a bridge from long ago. And this is what we have today. And if we look out towards our right, have a nice little stream going. If we come over to the other side, stream continues right under the bridge and hopefully most of the way down the path because we love the sound of running water. So right off of the Red Oak Trail, if we walk down here a little bit, they have a swampy area. This is kind of where the Red Oak and the Snow Runner Trail intersect. If you just go off to your right a little bit, they have this whole swampy type area. You can see all the trees are dead. There's been a lot of geese coming in and out of here. So we're leaving the swampy area. As of right now, we're still on the Red Oak Trail. If we continued this way, we would be on Red Oak. But we found a nice little short trail called the Snow Runner Trail. Should be a sign coming right up.
Right here, to the right.
Oh, there it is. So we're gonna take the Snow Runner because that goes directly to Little Falls, where we want to be for the waterfall. Just as a side note, we've been here for 3 days and we were warned in the ranger's office that we would see a multitude of bears by several campers. We were even asked if we had bear spray, and to this moment we haven't seen any bears yet. We are prepared. I'll give you guys a little rundown of what I keep in my backpack later, just for our own personal safety and the safety of the animals. But for now, no bears. So we're now on the Snow Runner Trail. We had made a wrong turn initially and went on the Loggers Trail, which is not on the map for us because it's out of the state park. It's in the state forest. So sometimes trails that are in the Delaware State Forest versus Promised Land State Park, it's kind of the same for most parks actually, but they won't always all correlate and show on the different maps that you have. So luckily we didn't get too far. We just did a quick turnaround, and now we're on the Snow Runner Trail, which is definitely the correct connecting trail to get to the Little Falls. Eventually we're gonna find these waterfalls for you. Alright, so now we kind of moved up probably about a quarter mile or so from the Snow Runner Trail. We came to the end of that where we're intersecting with the Loggers Trail. And we are so close to getting to Little Falls Trail. Stay tuned because the waterfalls are coming, guys. Okay, so we just came off the Snow Runner Trail, officially on the Loggers Trail. Just wanted to give you guys a little quick look at the terrain. This is more rocky than the original Red Oak. Red Oak had a lot of grass. This is more of a rock trail. What we've noticed is most of these trails look like they're made for vehicles to fit through. And like I said, most of them are pretty easy hikes compared to some of the places we've been. I think this park only has 2 hikes labeled a little more difficult. One of them is the Little Falls Trail that we're heading to. They're saying we should see a good bit of deer, and this is telling about the deer exclosures that I noted in yesterday's videos. They're trying to keep the deer out of things so we can get some healthy growth back in the park. And this is where we're just coming out of, just so you guys can see. A lot of it's closed to regular cars, but I think for the park rangers, they open it up. This is showing that we came from the Loggers Trail and that there was also another trail right up the road here called the West Wind Trail. You can kind of see right there. I'll zoom in. This is where the West Wind would start. That's going in a completely different direction that we're going in. All right, so coming off the Loggers Trail, heading to Little Falls Trail. We are back on the main road coming out of parking area number 3. You can see, here's the main road. Okay, so we're coming down the main road. Just got off of all the wooded trails. And we're coming up on a really nice bridge. They actually just rebuilt a bridge exactly like this, same materials and everything, at World's End State Park when we were there about 5 months ago. So we were able to see them finishing that up. This one looks like it's completely done. There's a little bench up here on the one side and water on both sides. It sounds like it's Russian, so I'm anxious to see what's going on up here. It's over to the right. It's over to our left. Another little bridge down there. I have a good feeling that this is probably for the Falls Trail because it looks like what I saw in the photo reviews online. So I think that that bridge is definitely connecting. You guys want to go through it looks like a dam or where the bridge is coming in now. Maybe we'll get a better view when we get down there. Taking a peek from the other side. A lot of the parks have these dams, even though they're man-made. The sound of the rushing water is still always peaceful, so I always like to share those. And we are finally heading down to Little Falls Trail. This is part of the man-made dam. This is what we heard rushing from above us. Now we're getting a little better look at it as we descend down to the trail. This is entering into the Little Falls Trail. We don't see a sign yet, but according to our map, we're pretty confident this is the correct one. We have a trail to our right, the blue blazes. Not 100% sure what that is, babe. Descending down to this little bridge. Now I can see the sign for Little Fall Trails. A little bit of a steep decline. This will show you here, Little Falls Trails. Heading over a nice little wooden bridge. It's a trail off to the right of the bridge with yellow blazes. Down at the bottom part, as you can see, that'll be the start of Little Falls Trail. This is footage of the dam right underneath of the bridge. Headed down, like I said, into Little Falls Trail. This is about 1.02 miles. We follow the yellow blazes, and our information says that it's a loop trail. So a little bit muddy to start. Nothing we haven't dealt with before. You can see all the water. We love when we walk right along the water side. Just have to be careful with all the roots. So far, we're liking what we see. Looking forward to seeing the waterfalls. Looks like there's a pretty large tree down, almost forming a little root cave. Let's see. There we go. Pretty big. I'm assuming at one point that this is one of the falls. Just looks like it's a little dry right now, but this could definitely be part of the falls that runs down. I'm gonna cross over here. This can be slippery with the leaves and algae buildup. So just take our time. You can see we always have our walking stick. Definitely aids in the hike. All right. So we're still in Little Falls Trails and Promised Land State Park. Just wanted to kind of show you how we've been on easy terrain the majority of the time. And I did mention that there are two more difficult trails in the park. And this is just to show you we're going through nothing but big rocks and boulders, tree roots. Definitely a difficult trail compared to the others. Hopefully it's worth it at the end when we get to see the waterfall, but definitely something you just have to take your time on. June's a little bit ahead of me, and he said we're coming up on the first one. I'm just taking my time. Like I said, you can see the terrain, a little crazy, but usually always something good waiting for us at the end. I'm gonna give you a view up. And here we go. You can see June making his way down, and we are pulling up on the first waterfall. I guess this trail is holding true. It really is Little Falls Trail. Falls may be smaller, but they're always still something gorgeous and definitely worth a view. I'm just trying to make my way safely through, and there it is. And we have a little baby waterfall. First official waterfall. A little bit small. Guess that's why they call it Little Falls. Until you turn around and see this, which is still small but very big in comparison to the one I just showed you. Beautiful, beautiful sight. These are just some of the things that we have to go through getting to the spots. Take your time, and like I mentioned, we take our hiking sticks. Fun fact, we find these sticks in the park. Usually whatever park we're at, we find a stick, and June makes them custom for us, stained, painted, and wrapped in rope. So you guys can kind of see we're still in Little Falls. Trail kind of remains a little more difficult than the others in the park. It's definitely manageable if you just take your time, take it easy, no rush. We're all here to just enjoy nature. Said just take your time. Always use caution. A little higher up off the water right here in this section. You can hear some water trickling up here somewhere, but I can't quite see it. Definitely a little more muddy on this one. Thinking a lot more natural water flows through the mountains in this section of the park, which is why we're getting the wetter terrain that we're walking through. Lots and lots of tree roots. Even though it's a little more difficult, it's always worth it because Mother Nature's true beauty. We just love it. We love everything about being in the woods. You can definitely see what some of the animals in the wild do. If you look at this tree and you zoom in closely away from the bigger parts, look at all the tiny little holes all the way up the tree. This is all part of the life cycle. So we just came off the regular trail. Got a nice big area here that we can stand on, nice and rocky, solid. And here's where we start descending into some of the falls. You can see they just keep gradually going down one at a time. And I think as we get to that bridge, that's where we're gonna see more. So we're gonna follow this trail down to the left. Like I said initially, this is a loop trail. So we kind of came down on the slower side. We're gonna keep following it down until we can cross this little bridge that you guys can probably see in the background. Zoom in. And then we'll get a good view of all the little falls. For now, this is the kind of stuff that we walk through. I said always be careful, it's a little slippery. Don't know if any critters are hiding anywhere. It definitely makes the adventure a little more fun when you're off the beaten path, taking the so-called hard way. Lots of nice mountainy terrain behind us. See, there's our little marker. We're still on the trail. Nothing more peaceful than the sound of rushing water, in my opinion. I'll give you a little taste of where it's heading down. That's where we're going. So now, as we're approaching the little bridge, we're also coming to the trailhead You see, I'm going to take these little man-made steps. This is telling us we're at the end of the trail. If you take the blue blazes behind us, that's going to lead us on a completely other direction that we're not really ready to go on. As I'm coming down here, there's a little bridge we're going to cross. Water just keeps flowing. This is absolutely gorgeous. This kind of gives you the rundown of all the falls. Now that we're standing here on the bridge, you kind of see where we're at, what's going on. This is where we're at, Little Falls Trail. We're at the bottom of the trail, halfway through the loop. Definitely was worth it in my opinion. We're at the end of Little Falls Trail. Definitely worth the short little hike to get here, even though it was difficult. It was still manageable and still absolutely beautiful. Sitting at the bottom of Little Falls Trail. There's the bridge. Just kind of hanging out on a rock. We hiked this morning, probably about 11 to 12,000 steps to get here, taking a couple different trails, partial main road. The last trail that we took here at the end of the loop branched off to a pretty much dead end. Now we're just kind of hanging out, sitting on these rocks. Nice little bench that we were sitting on, but obviously better when you could just be hanging off the side of a cliff. A perfect little spot, very peaceful. We've only seen a couple other people on this whole trail in the last hour or so that we've been here. I imagine when the weather gets warmer and nicer and kids are out of school, I'm sure it's packed. I'll give you a nice little close-up. The falls just come down and down. They cascade down from the top to the bottom. The water keeps going down under the bridge and all the way back until it thins out into a smaller creek. Definitely a beautiful spot. So we're leaving the Little Falls Trail. We're on the second half of the loop heading back. I'm sure you can hear the falls rushing behind us. We got lots of great footage down here. And literally we're lucky enough to be the only people here for a long time. We only ran into a couple other people on the trail. This is just natural beauty that you're seeing everywhere. It's one of the smaller falls at the top. It just doesn't get much better. This is what we live to do. We work so we can be places like this more than we're at our job. Many Little Falls area. And you're in the end of Little Falls Trail, and we always say that every little waterfall counts. Even though it's a little baby, it's still a waterfall. And we still love to see it and hear the sound. closely at this. This is wood that has spent probably hundreds of years growing over top of a rock. Not sure where the tree went. It's still pretty decent, and just goes to show you how Mother Nature always adapts and finds a way to keep on growing and doing what we need her to do. So we are on our last day at Promised Land State Park in the Poconos. We're trying to squeeze in one more hike. Right now we are at the Burley Inlet boat mooring area. They have overnight parking if you get a permit. You can see down here where you can launch your boats off. We actually did the Burley Inlet Trail a couple days ago. It was pretty nice. Most trails here are labeled pretty well. This looks like a good little area to launch your boat. You can see how vast the lake is. It just goes on and on. It wraps around and continues going on and on. We've been at a good part, you know, of these trails. We've hit a bunch of the different areas. You've heard a couple people out here fishing. We believe that there's trout. I'm not 100% sure what else, but you can see somebody's got a canoe stored here. I'm not sure if that's private or if that's a rental. I know that they do rent boats here when you're in season. And in season for them typically means Memorial Day to Labor Day. And then here's the parking area. So not bad. It's the second boat mooring station that we've seen. We've been walking down this road for about a mile, trying to get to the Bruce Lake Trail. No cars, lots of houses, but no people. Definitely heard a bear letting out a warning scream. I'm sure you guys can hear that woodpecker behind us. There's a million woodpeckers here. Road's a little too eerily quiet for me, but we're gonna keep pushing forward, get to our trail, and do our final hike of the trip. So we just passed the entrance for the Bruce Lake Trail. This is called Big Inlet right here. We have a little bridge where June is, leads out to the lake. You can see the water running under us. And then just turns into like a little creek over here. All right, our last day hiking at Promised Land State Park. We're on our final hike. We're trying to squeeze in one extra trail. This is just the park boundary. But June said there's a waterfall that you could see back here. So we're gonna take a peek and let you know. Kind of like the way these rocks are set up around the tree. This would be a nice little spot to relax. You see, we're walking right along the water like we always are. This trail looks a little off the beaten path, so stay tuned. These are the ones that always make me a little nervous. Heading up the park boundary. I don't know if you guys can see it up there. It's a little baby waterfall. And like we said yesterday, every waterfall counts. Looks like there's a large beaver dam up here. They built all the way across. We're taking this boundary trail a little bit further. Try to get a little bit closer. You can see this is part of the Blue Blazes. There's a log cabin up here. There are a good bit of homes throughout this park. We haven't seen many people staying in them, so we're not sure if they're rentals, permanent residences, or how that works. But regardless, there's a lot of them, and most of them are pretty nice and well kept. Just trying to get in a little closer to this waterfall and the beaver dam for you guys. We just walked up a couple hundred feet from the park boundary line trail. We're heading on to Bruce Lake Trail. I'm just gonna go up a little bit, see what it's all about. like most of the trails, it has the gate closed at the end to vehicles, just mainly accessible to park rangers. So terrain's pretty wide. Can definitely fit vehicles back here. Pretty leafy, grassy. This trail looks like it follows the Blue Blazes as well. So we're just gonna take a little stroll back. Last day at the park. Trying to squeeze in all the hikes we can. Taking the Bruce Lake Trail. Pretty leafy. Right now we're under the tree cover. It's getting ready to open up into a nice grassy patch. Sun is shining today. It's supposed to be 80 degrees. Definitely already feeling the warmth. We just saw a little chipmunk when we came in here. It's the first one we've seen in the last few days. Looks like at some point water may have ran through here. Doesn't look like this is a well-traveled trail, but it is, again, still early in the season, so that could change as the months go on into the summer. Here's one of those little butterflies. Follows us everywhere we go. Nice little perfect grassy trail. Like I said, could definitely still fit a vehicle up here if need be. Right, so we are just coming off of the Bruce Lake Trail, and we are going to take the park boundary trail instead of taking the main road. Cut through the woods a little bit. You can see it's the Blue Blaze. Looks like a pretty narrow trail, so we're just gonna take our time and work our way back towards this spot. Heading in the park boundary trail. June just prepared our bear spray just in case. We did hear some screaming earlier, and what we're concluding, because we've never actually seen a bear in the wild other than at the zoo, which really isn't the wild. We've heard a couple screams over the last few days. We kind of researched a little bit on the internet and YouTube, and it sounds like it could be a mama bear putting off the warning sounds. But the screams do sound horrifying. So just in case, we have seen a lot of people here carrying bear spray. They ask you in the ranger station if you have it. Better to be over-prepared than unprepared. Walking along the park boundary line right off of the Bruce Lake Trail. Very, very, very narrow trail. Lots of tree cover over here. As usual, we're the only people out here hiking these trails. I don't know why no one else is ever out here, but we keep pushing through. Still a fairly easy hike. Just like I said, a much narrower trail. You can see here's a little sign that we are at the state park boundary. Still on this park boundary trail. I'm not even gonna lie, I think this is the scariest trail I've been on since we've been here. It's the most dense. It has so many trees and hiding spots. There's a lot of leaves down. The trail is really narrow. To show you guys one more time, we're at the Pennsylvania State Park boundary line, Promised Land State Park in the Poconos. This trail is definitely a little scary, so I feel like I'm trying to take my time and try to enjoy it, but at the same time, I'm trying to push through and get the heck out of here. We did hear a scream up this way earlier this morning, and most likely, like I had said in a prior video, it was a mama bear giving out a warning. Definitely don't want to run into an angry mama trying to protect her babies out here. Still going through the park boundary line trail. literally in the middle of the woods. If I just stop and look around, you can see we are out here deep in the Delaware State Forest. The park boundary line separates the Delaware State Forest, even though we're in Pennsylvania, that's still what it's called, from Promised Land State Park boundary line. So we're literally about halfway through our trail. Definitely the only people out here as usual. But we're pushing through, even though we're both a little nervous, because that's what we're here to do. Here to get the footage, find the wildlife, find the cool little secret spots, the waterfalls, the hidden benches, just hearing the birds, just being away from the city. So we just cheated a little bit and drove over to the trail for the Wildlife Observation Center because we just checked out of our spot for the week. So we're going to take this little trail back, and according to the maps and online, you're supposed to be able to see the nest of the bald eagles. Depending on the time of year, you may see their eggs, you may see them, some other birds, like I said, turtles. We're just hoping to find some wildlife since we kind of crashed out and didn't find any bears. So this is a simple, easy little trail. I can already see the building at the end, so I don't think we have to go very far. So fingers crossed we see something good. So we're coming up the Wildlife Observation Viewing Area Trail. We're coming to the end. They have this little area built up. They have some information about what we may see. A couple little viewing benches inside, it looks like. So let's take a peek. It's going to tell us all about the eagles, how to determine if we're seeing an eagle or if it's a turkey vulture or an osprey. Sometimes it's just a hawk. And they have a lot of waterfowl. We've already seen a lot of the mallard ducks. There's a few other different types of ducks here, wood ducks, long runways. Let's see. Bear Wallow Wildlife Observation Station. You guys can kind of see. Take you inside. Get a couple benches. A couple different things here. This kind of shows you a little bit of information about the eagles and their nesting habits, how they build their nest. We did learn that eagles bond for life, so when you see a pair, they're stuck together. raise their babies, how they treat their nests. A little bit here about the structure. This was actually built all the way back in 1911, so that's pretty neat. Telling you about a few other different types of birds. We've seen several hawks. This kind of tells you how to distinguish what you're looking at. So let's take a look out here at a big marshy area. Big view of the lake. It's our first wildlife that we're seeing, Promised Land State Park at the Wildlife Observation Center. Just a regular old duck. So after doing a little research and not seeing any bald eagle's nest, we learned through good old Facebook that a year ago the nest had fell, that the eagles moved to somewhere where you can't view it from the observation area anymore. There is this man-made nest. We used it as a cool photo op. Clearly no wildlife is staying in there, but definitely cool if you want to pretend you're Big Bird from Sesame Street. This is the rest of the area, a lot of tall pines. The ground's basically loaded with pine needles. Nice little peaceful spot, just a shame we couldn't see the eagles.
it true.